Welcome back. The world of Batman has always been riddled with mysteries, both real and in-universe. However, today we'll be diving into one which some of you might not even know exists. Today we'll be trying to uncover the mystery of Cyrus Pinkney. Just a little side note, what I'm talking about often won't have perfect visual representation due to the subject of the video, but I hope you can still enjoy the video as a podcast with a few visual cues in there. Anyway, let's get into it. To understand this mystery, we have to start with the basics. So, who is Cyrus Pinkney? Well, Cyrus was the mastermind architect behind many of the famous landmarks in the series, including the Solomon Wayne Courthouse, the Gotham Merchants Bank, and the Gotham Pioneers Bridge. Pinkney was backed financially by the great-great-great-grandfather of Bruce Wayne, Judge Solomon Wayne. Solomon was inspired by Pinkney, viewing his architectural vision as a shield against any potential evil or malevolence in the people of Gotham, while others saw his style to be grim, off-putting, and dark. And when you look at the things he's built, it's hard to disagree. When Cyrus Pinkney first arrived in Gotham City, he wasn't already an established member of Gotham's history, nor was he an esteemed architect ready to reshape the skyline. He was just a young man, a few years out of university, lugging around a portfolio of ideas that no one was really paying attention to. He was brilliant and driven by a deep belief that cities weren't just collections of buildings, but living, breathing reflections of the people inside them. But Gotham City didn't feel like this yet. However, over the next few years, the trajectory of both the world's worst city and its infrastructure were about to change forever. Pinkney's big break came from one of the most unlikely places, inside a courtroom. After being assaulted on the street, Pinkney was brought before Judge Solomon Wayne, a man with enough wealth and influence to actually change things in Gotham like his great-great-great-grandson all those years later. While Cyrus was giving his account of the assault, Pinkney happened to show the judge's sketches and something clicked. Solomon saw more than just architecture on the pages. He saw a vision for a brighter, healthier future for the city he loved, and from that moment on, Solomon became Pinkney's strongest supporter, not just financially but philosophically. He believed in the kind of Gotham that Pinkney wanted to build, one with towering cathedrals, public institutions carved out of stone, an infrastructure that didn't just serve the rich people of the city, but lifted up the entire city as a whole. With Solomon's backing, Pinkney got to work, and piece by piece, the bones of old Gotham started to take shape, and we can still see a lot of these bones in the games. For those of you who might want to visit these locations yourself and have a proper look around outside of the stories of the games, here are a few notable locations that you can visit. We have the Cyrus Pinkney Institute for Natural History, Penguin's future fortress. We have the church from which Batman dives out of in Arkham City, the Solomon Wayne Courthouse, Two-Face's future stomping grounds, the Gotham Pioneers Bridge, the subject of Firefly's attack in Batman's second year of crime fighting, and finally Gotham Merchants Bank, which as we know is a main location in Arkham Origins. Solomon went all in with his investments. He sold off several of his business holdings, borrowed heavily, and leaned on every connection he had to get others to invest in this vision for a brighter future. Gotham's transformation under Pinkney was ambitious and expensive, but not without its detractors, and at the top of that list was Henry Cobblepot. I know you probably just heard the name Cobblepot and assumed he was an evil bastard, right? Well, he kind of is. Henry was a print magnate and was wealthy in his own right, and a long-time rival of the Waynes. Pinkney didn't trust him the moment they met and said he could smell the arrogance on him. Henry didn't see Gotham as a city to shape and nurture, more he saw it as a product to sell, a pie to carve up, and a business to manipulate. And while the two clashed personally, their relationship was made worse by business. When Solomon's new hotel opened, a centrepiece of Pinkney's early designs, it crushed Henry's own hotel venture, pushing him into financial retreat. Humiliated and embarrassed, Henry retaliated the only way he knew how, by trying to buy up a critical stretch of land in Old Gotham, a key location tied to the city's roots, rich in history and now vulnerable due to financial strain. Henry wanted to tear it all down and rebuild it in his own image, but Pinkney and Solomon just weren't having it. To them, this wasn't just business, it was a symbolic fight for Gotham's soul. That might sound pretty dramatic, but the pair really believed Gotham was a blooming city, and not just a bunch of numbers on an accounts sheet. With help from the mayor, they blocked the purchase, which really pissed Henry off, and this made the feud between the Cobblepot family and the Pinkney-Wayne partnership permanent, which links back into and gives plenty of context to the good old-fashioned revenge conversation between Bruce Wayne and Oswald Cobblepot in Batman Arkham City.
Wakey, wakey, Wayne. Oh, what's up? Do you need me to call your butler?
Cobblepot.
Oh, you remember me? I'm touched. Your family destroyed mine, Wayne. This, well, let's just call this good old-fashioned revenge.
But amid all that conflict, something more hopeful began to make itself known. Pinkney met a young medical student named Amadeus Arkham. While most people of the time talked about criminals like they were some sort of pest to be crushed, Amadeus spoke of rehabilitation, healing, and understanding the roots of madness. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with Amadeus' story, which is really interesting in its own right, I will be making a video very similar to this on him, because I think he's one of the most interesting characters in Batman lore, let alone Arkham. Amadeus' thought process really struck a chord with Pinkney. Here was someone else who wanted to build and truly help Gotham, not just destroy it and take advantage of it. So Pinkney lent his architectural talents to help design what would eventually become the Elizabeth Arkham Asylum for the criminally insane, or Arkham Asylum. The pair had built another cornerstone in the city's evolving foundations. I do want to mention here, before I get any comments saying I've overdosed on stupid pills, that it was actually his grandson, Cyrus Pinkney III, who would ultimately make the final design for Arkham Asylum and draft the schematics for it. This lines up date-wise and everything, and it's entirely believable it would take this long to make, spanning 3 generations due to its massive size. Despite all this progress, cracks were forming behind the scenes. Solomon's resources and money were nearly gone, and the donations had dried up, and investors were getting nervous. And Pinkney, in one of the top 10 movie betrayals of all time, made a decision he never thought he would. Quietly, without Solomon's knowledge, he went back to the one person who still had some cash, Henry Cobblepot. Cobblepot agreed and signed the check, but Pinkney, aware of how Henry worked, knew that it wasn't charity. Henry never did anything without expecting something in return, and that bill came due a year later. Henry returned with a proposal. He wanted Pinkney's endorsement for a munitions factory to be built inside the city limits. To him, it was practical, necessary, and most importantly, extremely profitable. But to Pinkney, it was a betrayal of everything he and Solomon had been working towards. Gotham wasn't meant to be a factory floor for weapons. It was meant to inspire and elevate the people within it. So instead of backing down, Pinkney went straight to the mayor and proposed a city-wide ban on weapons manufacturing to try and cut Henry off before the idea even got off the ground. The mayor, being the swell guy that he was, passed it. The factory was shut down before it even broke ground, and Henry Cobblepot was, well, he wasn't too pleased. Henry saw it as a personal insult, a slap in the face after bailing Pinkney out of his financial shortcomings, and from that moment on he swore revenge, not just on Pinkney, but on anyone tied to that dream. It was no longer about architecture or the love of the game, profit, or even pride. This time it was personal, and Henry was angry. Cyrus Pinkney knew death was coming. He could feel it in the way Henry Cobblepot smiled at him. The handshakes, the fake pleasantries, the overly generous gestures weren't acts of forgiveness. They were warnings that one day he was going to kill Pinkney. Henry hadn't just lost a business feud though, he'd been humiliated, outmaneuvered, and forced to watch his vision for Gotham burn while Pinkney and Solomon laid the foundations for something much greater. Haunted by this looming threat, Pinkney became obsessed with watching every move Henry made. He pored through documents, tracked meetings, listened to whispers in the right circles, and that paranoia, similar to me reading comments on a lore-based video, managed to gain him some pretty insightful knowledge. Through his digging, Pinkney discovered Henry's real plan. Henry's son, Theodore Cobblepot, was preparing a campaign to run for mayor. It wasn't just a grab for power though, it was revenge on Wayne and Pinkney, because if Theodore won, the weapons manufacturing ban would be overturned, the factory would be approved, and everything Pinkney had built would be dismantled brick by brick. And once Pinkney was out of the picture, nothing would stand in their way to turn Gotham into, for lack of a better term, a war zone shithole. But Henry wasn't going to wait for politics to do his dirty work. He wanted to get pretty hands-on. Word spread of a lavish party to celebrate Pinkney's 40th birthday, hosted by none other than Henry himself. A grand affair hosted by the wait, no, wrong grand affair, my bad. The party would be full of expensive wine, smiling guests, and plenty of veiled threats. Pinkney had accepted the invitation, fully aware of what was coming. He knew the wine would be poisoned, he knew the celebration was a trap, and yet he went on with a plan of his own. A plan to bluff the bluffer, to trick the trickster, to out-riddle the riddler, to outsmart the smart... you get the point. Before the party, Pinkney turned to one of the only people he trusted with matters of life and death, Amadeus Arkham, who by this point hadn't gone insane. The young doctor, always on the fringe of ethically questionable experimentation, provided Pinkney with a chemical compound, a concoction that would simulate death for several hours, lowering the heartbeat to nearly nothing. It was dangerous and untested, but just believable enough to sell the illusion. And on the night of the party, Pinkney played his part. He raised his glass, drank his wine, and collapsed to the floor before the entire room. The guests screamed, the doctors were called, and by morning, Pinkney was in his crypt, buried, mourned, and declared dead. But death did not come for Pinkney. When he woke up in the damp silence of his tomb, he was alone, alive, and out for revenge. Shortly after Pinkney's quote-unquote passing, Henry Cobblepot was killed in a traffic accident, a violent and suspicious end for a man whose enemies outnumbered his friends by 10 to 1. Official reports called it an unfortunate mishap, but whispers around the city told a different story. Those close to the Wayne family and those who paid attention to Gotham's underbelly suspected Pinkney had orchestrated it from the shadows, a last-gasp attempt at revenge by a dead man. In the years that followed, Pinkney vanished from public life. His name faded into the stonework and plaques of the city he helped build, but he didn't disappear completely. Hidden within plaques and monuments scattered across Gotham, he left behind entries from his journal. In those pages, he didn't deny what he had done. He owned it and admitted it was dark and perhaps unforgivable, but he also believed it was necessary to preserve Gotham, to stop a rot that threatened everything he and Solomon had created. But don't take it from me, take it from the man himself. In Batman Arkham Origins, the player can hunt these 8 pages down, scanning them in detective mode to ultimately uncover Pinkney's journal and take a glimpse into a situation which would echo through Gotham for the decades that would follow, bleeding into the games which we play. Here we can hear Cyrus's first-hand account, and I'll play these now for those of you who are interested in them and might not have heard them. If not, skip to the timestamp on screen and we'll continue the journey there.
January the 13th, 1855. The moment of my death approaches, and there is naught I might do to stop it. I dared dream of greatness, but in the process, I forgot that such ambition oft demands a heavy price. Still, I pay it gladly, for knowing that Gotham has become a city whose magnificence will echo across the ages. But its origins must not be forgotten. And so, I have scattered my journal across the city, placing pages where I believe they shall endure. Find them, read them, then share what lies within. For though the truth may not be so beautiful as the legend, it is necessary all the same. April the 22nd, 1846. Our recent financial troubles have forced us into business with one Henry Cobblepot, a print magnate of questionable repute. The man cares little for me and my base station, as he put it. And so, the negotiations are left to Solomon. But I fear his idealism shall lead us down a treacherous road, for Cobblepot is a sneak, and surely his sweet words mask a nefarious intent. August the 11th, 1851. I fear I've angered Henry Cobblepot, but he sought to build over the last remaining vestige of the original Gotham, and I could not allow it. Solomon and I went before the mayor and bade him support us. Henry was opposed, insisting his work was necessary for Gotham's financial security. I think it's more to do with his own. Solomon Wayne's hotel put Cobblepots out of business. I do wonder if Mr. Wayne erred in opening that place. But what's done is done. February the 7th, 1852. I have met the most extraordinary young man by the name of Amadeus Arkham. Though still just a student, he exhibits an intelligence unmatched by even Gotham's most learned. He is possessed with a kind heart as well, and seeks to help those who all others have abandoned. Rehabilitation instead of incarceration. It is the most progressive notion, and one that few of his peers support, but I believe. And so, I shall provide him with plans for the greatest asylum the world has ever known. April the 3rd, 1853. I am sorry, Solomon, to have gone behind your back, to have bargained with the devil. But the accounts have run dry and our work is but half begun. I had no choice but to approach Henry Cobblepot. The others would contribute no more. He consented to my request, though I fear it will come at a great cost. For now, he says I owe him nothing. But how long until I do? December the 22nd, 1854. I fear I am not long for the world. Henry Cobblepot finally came to collect, and I refused. He wishes to open a munitions factory inside the city. This is not part of the plan, and it works against everything we've accomplished, to say nothing of the danger to Gotham's citizens. I went to the mayor and begged him to introduce a bill banning the endeavor. Thankfully, he agreed, but I'm sure to be punished for my betrayal. It's only a matter of how and when. January the 11th, 1855. I've accepted the invitation, knowing it means my death. Henry Cobblepot claims it's merely a party to celebrate my 40th birthday. He insists that he's forgiven my past transgressions, turned over a new leaf, as it were. But I know better. With me gone, he will use his wily charms to see the law changed and his factory built. Already there are rumors that his son, Theodore, intends to run for mayor. Victory is all but assured. I will hide this journal of mine in the hopes that someday it might be found. To go public now, before my work is done, would put it all at risk. It must wait. But I hope in time, my words are brought to light. January the 14th, 1855. My God, it worked! Amadeus truly is a genius. Oh, you've come this far, dear reader. Allow me to explain. I learned Cobblepot intended to poison me, and so we endeavored to replace his tainted wine with one of our own creation. As expected, I choked, I sputtered, and then, I passed. But it was not poison I consumed, rather something made by Amadeus. His concoction enabled me to enter a soporific state so profound that even to the keenest of physicians, I appeared a corpse. Yet here I am, resurrected. And now I will have my revenge. Henry Cobblepot will pay for what he's done.
Once Batman had uncovered all of these journal entries by visiting different landmarks Cyrus built, he can head to the crypt we spoke about before where Pinkney was buried and find his final place of resting. Kind of. But before we enter the crypt, I'd like to draw your attention to this inscription above the doorway, which reads "Sanity Fighting Madness," which I don't know if we're all on the same page here, but sounds very Arkham Asylum to me. That's because it is. It was presumably a gift from Amadeus Arkham. Back to Cyrus, and see, the issue is, by using detective mode, we can see there is no body in the crypt. And I guess the easiest argument would be that, oh, of course you can't see it, it's just bones, why would detective mode pick up just bones? However, in the crypt, detective mode does pick up other skeletons, meaning if Pinkney was in here, we'd know about it. This leaves the player and Batman stumped, and as Alfred says, in trying to solve one murder, you've discovered the origins of another. Fast forward 6 months to Arkham Shadow, and we can uncover more of Cyrus's past, this time through his grandson, Cyrus Pinkney III, who, we find out, had once documented ancient runes under Blackgate Island. His notes and thus his findings were lost in a fire, leading people, Alfred included, to assume the runes were just Pink 3 going on some kind of psychotic ramble until Batman rediscovers the runes and the logs. Now what's interesting is that many people believed Pinkney and Pink 3 to be the same person, because as we know, Pinkney didn't die when the world thought he did, leaving this to be a real possibility possibility, although Alfred, upon Bruce finding one of these runes, donates the findings to Gotham University, where they deduce that not only does some of the information in them conflict what they thought they knew about Pinkney, but it was definitely Pinkney III who discovered these. He just used to remove the numerical suffix off of his name sometimes, which led to a lot of confusion. Back to the runes though, and these runes tell a very interesting story of their own, which I'll summarise here loosely. I won't be playing all of the runes because this video is already long enough, and they run for about 15 minutes in total, but if you are interested in their exact words, and you should be because they're really interesting, I will link the legendary Batman Arkham videos' video collecting them and listening to them, but here is the story we can uncover. He goes to Blackgate Island with good intentions to study architecture and maybe pitch a grand city redesign to Judge Wayne, and to finally escape the shadow of men like Henry Cobblepot. But from day one, it's clear Blackgate wasn't all it was cracked up to be. He finds runes and inscriptions that hint at prophecies, cults, and a guardian figure. The island practically breathes with occult energy, vines growing where they shouldn't, echoes of birds that don't exist, ancient gibbets, and catacombs with impossible designs. Sound familiar? Cyrus starts out skeptical, but with every day that skepticism begins to fade. Each rune talks about Gotham's fall, its fire, its future, but without fail, every time a protector shows up, a caped knight, a saint with a sword, a being of justice, or perhaps vengeance, sometimes both. Pinkney sees this symbol etched not just underground, but also in Gotham Cathedral, above ground, in plain sight, hiding in the city's very bones. By the final day of his visit to Blackgate, he's not the same man. The ruins speak to him, sometimes literally. He sees visions, falls into a spiral. He realises Blackgate isn't a prison or a holy site, it's a mechanism. Something built to summon the Protector when Gotham needs him most. Something that both calls and contains. A theme which echoes the words of Judge Wayne, who once told Cyrus that anything that cultivates malevolence must also be used to drive it out. Pretty fitting for an island like Blackgate. The last words we hear are about sealing the deepest chambers, leaving only one open and its imposing overseer, who might look pretty familiar to some of you, or might even sound familiar. Do the phrases instrument of God or tool of man sound familiar? But Pinkney isn't afraid anymore. He believes Gotham can be saved, but only if the city's darkest roots are both preserved and protected. He knows one man, or something like a man at least, is already waiting in the shadows to do it. His final line, well, I really love it. He says, "His Honour will understand. The Wayne family have always loved Gotham more than it deserves." I just love that line, like, it's just so cool. It reminds me of the Arkham Knight trailer. This isn't in the script. It reminds me of the Arkham Knight trailer, father to son. Absolute cinema. Batman can also find a hidden grave for none other than Cyrus Pinkney I under Blackgate. The grave tells us that Cyrus Pinkney was born in 1815 and died sometime in the 1920s, although we don't know actually what year because the last number of the date has been scratched out. The grave has a plaque on it that reads, "Outlived his 70 to continue sanity's fight against madness." Now, 70 is an archaic way of saying 70. The word score refers to the number 20, and 30 means 3 times 20, or 60. Adding the and 10 then brings the total to 70, and obviously there isn't a body in the grave, which adds another layer of mystery to this rabbit hole, one which we might never get to the bottom of. And as far as we know, this is the end of the Pinkney family legacy so far, a legacy which spanned 3 generations, one of them being crucial to Gotham's beginning, the other finding foreshadowings of Gotham's end. And before anyone asks, I have no idea what Cyrus Part 2 Gotham Boogaloo did. My headcanon is that he was like just kind of a pretty normal guy and just went fishing and stuff, but that's all we know. A legacy of lies, success, failure, and a whole lot of smoke and mirrors. Hopefully we learn more about this as the series continues and maybe get a definitive ending to it one day, although I do quite like the open-endedness of it. Just one more thing to clear up, and this is just a common fan theory, neither of the Pinkneys are Solomon Grundy. Cyrus was a pretty common name around the time of both of their births, Cyrus the First especially. The second and third being named after their father and grandfather respectively also makes sense as well, so just talk it up to a coincidence that there are 3 Cyruses in Batman lore, 2 of which have a penchant of cheating death. Thank you all so much for watching, and if you stuck around this far, hit subscribe. We're so close to hitting that elusive 10k mark, which would be really cool. I've got a lot of really cool things planned for the future, and hopefully you'll stick around to see it. I know this is a bit of a different style to my usual stuff. I wanted to try something different and try a different sort of style to this video, and hopefully you guys like it, sort of just getting straight into the video and skipping all of the beginning bit out. And yeah, hopefully you liked it, and if you do, let me know what other topics you'd like me to see cover in the future in this style, because again, this video was really fun to make, and I think the fact it's like nerdy lore stuff I really like. It just, yeah, this was a really fun video to make. Thank you all so much for the support, and I'll see you next time. I hope you enjoyed, and goodbye. Henry was a print magnate, and as well... Oh my god, it's so hot. Oh, I'm sweating. I'm literally sat here recording a voiceover and I'm sweating. Holy shit. Oh, I need to do this so I can turn my fan back on. I'm gonna die. Ugh. But don't take it from me, take it from the man himself. In Batman Arkham Origins, the player can hunt these 8 pages down. Slenderman. I've actually written in the script, once Batman had uncovered all of these journal entries. Wait, no, wrong page. I've actually written in the script, in Batman Arkham Origins, the player can hunt these 8 pages down. Ellipses, Slenderman, LMAO. I am actually the Shakespeare of our time.